What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, joined by the one, the only Kevil. We are here to discuss the Houston Texans versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Deshaun Watson's first ever start as an NFL quarterback. Week number 2, Thursday night football recap, as we're here every single week for Thursday night crappy football, as Kevil will get into his rant, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more Thursday night football recaps, Sunday night and Monday night recaps, as well as predictions, recaps, fantasy football videos, and everything under the sun when it comes to the NFL. But we're here to talk about the game, the players, the performances, the coaches, what happened in this game, and basically this shit show. Yes, this shit show we saw today between the Texans and the Bengals. Two football teams that were awful last week, and we got another awful performance this week. So, Kevil, let's just start off with your main thoughts of this game.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we love NFL. We absolutely love the NFL. With all of we spend our Sundays. We don't do anything other than watch NFL on Sundays and Mondays. And Thursdays, we want to watch football as well. But this Thursday night football thing, you can branch it up with fantastically new uniforms that are only specifically for Thursday night or not. This game and most Thursday night football games are hot garbage. They're terrible to watch. They're uninteresting. They're terrible matchups. You only have 3 days to prepare for these games. It's time to stop this experiment. It's simply not working. It's not helping the teams in any way, shape, or form. And we saw that tonight. This was a terrible game. It's unwatchable and it's an embarrassment to the National Football League. It needs to stop. This is the 205 live of the NFL is Thursday night football. There, I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Kevil, for that great rant.
Thank you.
I'm going to go over the scoring summary very quick. And what I mean by very quick is it's very quick. Field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal. The only touchdown came on a Deshaun Watson 49-yard run in this game. And pretty much the only source of entertainment came from, if you're a defensive line junkie and like to see defensive lines dominate, you might have enjoyed this game. Or if you enjoy Deshaun Watson and a fan of him, or a Texans fan in general, you might have enjoyed this game because Deshaun Watson was one of the more, electrifying, exciting parts of this game with a couple of his big runs. Also, DeAndre Hopkins had himself a nice game. So let's get into the performances. Of course, 13-9 for the Houston Texans. Let's start off with the winning team, the Texans. Deshaun Watson, 15 for 24. He had 125 yards through the air and was sacked 3 times. He also ran the ball 5 times for 67 yards, including that long touchdown and a big third down to set up the game-clinching field goal, basically. So, Deshaun Watson, I only got to see the second half. I should say that. I was at a movie tonight, so I wasn't able to see the first half. But second half, I thought Watson was composed. He made all the right decisions. He was really forcing it to DeAndre Hopkins, but the guy was taking the matchup that was there. The matchup that was there was DeAndre Hopkins versus the second or first corner with Pac-Man Jones being hurt. And that was just a matchup that they wanted to go to, and clearly that was what they game planned to do. So I thought Watson played smart. He ran when he needed to, escaped the pressure when he needed to, threw it out of bounds when he needed to, and overall had a good composed half that I saw. What did you think of Deshaun Watson today, Kev?
I went on mute. I think for 3 days, this was pretty okay. The run is great. He's got a lot of mobility. He kind of reminds me of Dak Prescott a little bit in his decision making. He's got a lot of excitement to him. It has a bit of Michael Vick in him. I think as the season goes on, and why I kind of picked the Texans to win the Super Bowl, even though
that's not looking very good right now.
It may not be, but I kind of am interested to see how he progresses through the year because I think he's going to improve as the year year goes on. And there's some pretty strong weapons here that haven't got their game together. I mean, Lamar Miller had an okay game, 61 yards on the ground, 26 in the air. Hopkins was okay. And they've got some solid weapons, and I think this offense will eventually grow. It's just you put this team in a terrible position with this Thursday night football, that it's really hard to adjust from what happened. I'm concerned from Houston about still this offensive line is concerning.
Bad. It's one of the really worst in the league. And it's not just bad at blocking passing wise, it's also bad at getting a push run wise. Yeah, you said Lamar Miller didn't have a bad game. If you separate him from his blocking, he didn't have a bad game. He only averaged 3.4 yards per carry, which isn't great. Like, you want to be somewhere around 4 yards per carry, right? And Lamar Miller, it wasn't really his fault. A lot of those runs, like we'll get to one player in particular for the Bengals, Geno Atkins, who was really good tonight and disrupted the run, disrupted the pass, and the defensive line on both sides dominated this game because of the weak offensive lines. I'm sick of seeing these weak offensive lines. It's actually nice to watch some nice blocking.
There's a lot of bad offensive line right now.
I know, that's what I mean. And I think a lot of it, Kev, is honestly, first off, it's the college game. They don't teach the same way they used to, and they develop offensive linemen differently. Second, they're not physical enough in practice. They don't have enough practice time to actually get physical with the offensive lineman, defensive line, and really work on that sort of thing. So that's part of it, but those are the two big things for me. But there's a lot of bad offensive lines, and it's always difficult to watch. But in this game in particular, two of the worst offensive lines in the league. Houston's is bad, but as we saw with Watson, as I said in my Watson video before the season, Watson would be the better guy to start because he can at least get away from the pressure. But, going to the running game, Watson did have 67 yards in that touchdown. Miller, 61 yards. Had a pretty good game also with the receiving. Lamar Miller's receiving game is a little bit underrated. I'd like to see them use him a little bit more in that regard. Freeman also was better in the first half, kind of slowed down in the second half when they were running the clock out, had 12 carries for 40 yards. But I like the contrast between Miller's quickness and straight line speed and Foreman's kind of strength and power. I think both backs are good. Receiving-wise, DeAndre Hopkins had 7 catches for 73 yards. Again, Miller, 3 for 26. And then you drop down Irvin and Braxton Miller. They need to get more targets involved. I understand Fuller's not there. I'm not sure if Ellington is playing or not, or if he's hurt, but it seems like they're kind of lacking a little bit on the weapon side right now. Fedorowicz is hurt. Griffin is also hurt at tight end. So that definitely hurts them when they're a very tight end oriented offense. But DeAndre Hopkins obviously played well, especially in that second half in that big drive that they really needed him to come through. He came through. The thing about DeAndre Hopkins is he's not going to create a lot of separation. And as we saw in this game, he creates separation by using his size and his body. And he's really good with his hands and his feet to stay in bounds and that sort of stuff. That's why I don't see him really as an elite receiver, but I think he's a very good receiver just because he doesn't have that speed to separate against good corners. But he had a better week this week, and Watson and him definitely forming a connection. Any thoughts on those receivers and any, the receiving game or the running game?
Yeah, again, it just seems to me they need to grow into this a bit, and I think they will need another couple of options. And it felt like he went to Hopkins a lot, and because he was just comfortable with that, and he will need to spread that around a little bit, especially as the weeks go on, because it gets too predictable. But Hopkins okay. Miller's a really versatile back, so those are key weapons, and that they need to get healthy as well.
Yeah, next week they do play the Patriots. Depending on how the Patriots perform this week, it's in New England. They've had difficulties, especially offensively, dealing with them in the past, so it's going to be an interesting matchup with Watson playing the Patriots, but we'll look at that game in just a little bit once we wrap this up. Kareem Jackson had 1 sack in this game. McKinney had 2 for the Texans. Watt had a lot better game in this one. He didn't get hurt halfway through, so that definitely helps. He was disrupting a lot, getting a lot of pressures, as was Jadeveon Clowney. I didn't think Merciless had his best game. Zach Cunningham started for the first time in this game, starting in place of Brian Cushing. But he had an okay game. I thought overall the Texans defense looked a lot better, especially getting after the quarterback than last week and also stopping the run, which was a weakness for them. I'm sure they really stressed that in the 3 days that they had to prepare, that they didn't want to lose because of the opposing running back. So I thought overall pretty good, especially with dealing with all those injuries that they had in the secondary during this game. It's always hard to adjust to that, but I think the Texans did a good job. How about you? What did you think about the defense?
We're going to get into the Bengals offense, but they have yet to score a touchdown, Mitch, in the National Football League in 8 quarters.
They're all-time bad.
This is has anyone seen a guy named John Ross paging John Ross? Can you come to the Bengals facility, please? John Ross to the Bengals facility. Thank you.
He's hurt.
He had one. He caught one. A.J. Green, come to the Bengals facility, please.
He had 5 catches. The thing about A.J. Green is I don't know why they didn't pass him the ball more. They had Jonathan Joseph left this game. They had second and third corners covering A.J. Green, and they still didn't throw him the ball more. Andy Dalton, let's get to him, okay? 20 for 35, 224 yards, sacked 3 times, 0 touchdowns, of course, but also 0 interceptions. So an improvement in that regard.
Better than 4.
He didn't throw 4 like he did last week. But Andy Dalton, I don't know if we're seeing his true colors, but we're definitely seeing a sort of a regression. Obviously, he's always had weapons. He's always had an offensive line. And maybe we're just seeing what we've always thought about Andy Dalton. He's good when he has it around him, but when he doesn't have it around him, what can he do? And I think what we're seeing right now is when he doesn't have it around him, he's not one of those quarterbacks that can make something out of nothing. And that's exactly what I thought Andy Dalton has been throughout his career. And that's what we're seeing right now. Do I think A.J. McCarron could fix that? No. I think they're very similar players. I don't know if Andy Dalton is the answer right now. You might have to go a different direction after this season. I think you still ride out with Andy Dalton as long as you can, unless you continue to lose and continue to score 0 points. Then you have to make a change. But I think, let's just start off by this. I think the coach has to go. He's had to go for a while now. He went with multiple talented teams to the playoffs and lost. Couldn't control their temperament in multiple games. And Marvin Lewis needs to go. It's his time to go. What do you think about that, Kev?
You may see this on a video coming up Saturday on the Bottom Line View when we may talk about Marvin Lewis in a video about coaching in the National Football League. The interesting thing about Marvin Lewis is how long he's been there, and he's had opportunities, and they've had teams that I think legitimately could have beat the Steelers, and he hasn't done it. He hasn't put that team over the top. He hasn't put that team in a position to even win a playoff game. Like the Bengals right now are considered, they're okay. They're all right. They're not terrible, but they're not good. They're just in this murky middle of the road place where it's just Marvin Lewis hasn't moved them that much further forward than where they've been. Are they worse than the Browns? No. But this is not a good football team, and you can't put this and you can't rely on this defense to do anything. If your offense doesn't score points,
I will say this: I've been impressed, and we'll get to the defense obviously, but I've been impressed with the defense these last 2 weeks. I did not think that they were this good. Maybe they're not playing great offenses, but still, they're keeping them in the game when their offense has not scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they're doing the job of keeping them in the game for what they have, but like I don't know, Andy Dalton's a middle of the road quarterback. Their running backs are middle of the road. They're not great, but they're not terrible. AJ Green, I don't know what we think about AJ Green. Is he overrated?
AJ Green. I just think he's in a bad situation.
Do you think if he was on if he was on a better team, he would be better?
Yeah, for sure.
Who's better, AJ Green or Des Bryant?
AJ Green.
Okay.
All right. The running backs, Joe Mixon, 9 carries for 36 yards, 4 yards per carry. Jeremy Hill, 6 carries for 17 yards for 2.8 yards per carry. What else is new? John Ross, 1 carry for 12 yards. That was his only touch of the entire game. Giovanni Bernard, 5 carries for 10 yards. Again, mostly a pass catching back. Dalton, 2 carries for 5 yards. Erickson, 1 for 2. AJ Green, 5 catches for 67 yards. Again, don't know why he didn't get the ball more. Erickson, a pleasant surprise, I guess, for the Bengals. 4 catches for 62 yards. Tyler Eifert had some moments, 3 for 42, but also, again, got injured in this game. Not sure on the update. Brandon LaFell showed some strength on a couple of his catches. 4 catches for 30 yards. Giovanni Bernard, 2 for 16. I think they have talent. I think 1, it's the quarterback. 2, it's the offensive line. 3, it's the scheme / coach that's keeping these talented, skilled players back. That's my personal opinion on it. Maybe somebody feels differently. How do you feel on that, Kev?
I think they do have talent. I think Bernard is a solid back. Mixon, I think 4 yards per carry, it's okay. Maybe you want to use them more. They're going to have to do something.
And this is something I've hated. This is something that I was angry about Sean Payton too on Monday night. I don't like the running back by committee to the point of not letting anyone get rhythm.
Yeah.
It's like
that happened with Seattle this week too.
It's like, yeah, and even New England too. First down, this guy, second down, this guy, third down, this guy, first down, this guy. Just let a guy go. One, first down, second down, okay, bring in the pass back, third down. First down, second down, third down. And then if the guy's tired, if you've ran him a couple times in a row, then you have that backup guy that can run the football. I don't like it. Obviously it's better. For the Bengals, it should be Mixon running the ball first down, second down, because he can also catch it. So it's not predictable. Jeremy Hill can't catch, so you might as well not play him. Giovanni Bernard can spell Mixon, especially on third down. And that's the way it should be. And then on maybe occasionally when Mixon or Bernard is tired, you put in Hill. That's how I feel.
Yeah. The running back by committee, or we're going to try everybody here. They're treating it like another preseason game, and it's not helping. And you're 0-2 now if you're the Bengals. The Steelers may jump to 2-0. The Ravens will definitely jump. Are 95% certain the Ravens are going to jump to 2-0 here with a division loss. You're putting yourself in a huge hole. You don't have time to decide on a running back. You're in trouble. You're 0-2 and you haven't scored a touchdown yet.
This is the first team since 1939. And by the way, AC, it was the Eagles in 1939 who haven't scored a touchdown in their first 2 games. And they were both at home.
Yeah. That's even
worse. I do want to give a shout out to Geno Atkins, who I am proud of because I ranked very highly on my top 100 going into this season. I've always been a fan of Geno Atkins. He's had some ups and downs with injury problems, but he's always been one of the best pass rushers from that defensive tackle position. Probably going to lead that position again in sacks, did last year. It's going to be interesting to see what he does even on a lackluster team. But the Bengals defense, got to give them credit for keeping them in the game. And dealing with the quarterback that's a lot different from Tom Savage. So they only had a few days to prepare on limited, preseason tape and whatever was in the second half. So got to give the Bengals a little bit of credit for that. And they gave their offense a chance all the way to the end.
Yeah. Yes. Ray had a good game, 11 tackles. They solid. Yeah, Atkins was strong. Their front is strong, but we talked about the Texans' offensive line. They're awful. Kicker Randy Bullock had 2 special team tackles. Good job. They need to probably create some turnovers that might help. But
you can't ask too much. At one point, like one of these guys on deep, like Pac-Man Jones in the locker room, offense scores some fucking points. Like, can't you just see one of these guys like Pac-Man Jones, Gino, Carlos Dunlap, one of these guys just saying something?
The Texans got into the red zone only once this game.
Yeah.
I mean, and they were 0 for 1 with the field goal.
And they had that 49-yard touchdown.
Yeah. So the Texans weren't necessarily moving the ball up and down the field. So, I mean, you give the Bengals credit for that, for sure.
One thing I will say on that almost third down conversion from Watson at the end of the game, I don't know why they didn't think he was going to scramble on that play. Like, I was 99% certain he was going to scramble on that play.
Yeah. Maybe they need to contact Tony Romo in the CBS studio because he just
so he can predict it.
He can predict it.
All right. We went over all the performances. Let's get to the comments, and then we'll get to our final thoughts on the game. So let's talk to Space Cowboy, who says, "It's finally over. I legit fell asleep until the 2-minute warning." Ryan says that was fucking garbage. He says that was so bad. Bodo says, "Can we get rid of Thursday Night Football?" Kev, can you answer that question?
Please, for the love of God, let's do it.
Coach says, "Brutal game. This review should be quick. Texans front 7, very good." Space Cowboy says, "Thursday Night Football should only be for Thanksgiving. That's it." I agree. But the NFL makes money off of it. So probably not going to happen. You know what? I would rather see the occasional Saturday night game than these Thursday night games. How do you feel, Kev?
I think that Saturday night would be excellent. But the problem is you're facing with college football.
You're facing college football, but that's why I like it near the end of the season. But it always feels special to me, Saturday night. But
yeah, I think it's more appropriate.
Yeah, okay. Bodo says, once again, another AFC North team sucking. Ryan says, garbage game, painful to watch. Bodo says, I got 2 things I must say. How in the hell is Pittsburgh ranked first in the ESPN Power Poll? Did they even watch the game? Fire Tomlin, retire Ben. Bodo says, like Bodo. You like Bodo? Especially about the Ben stuff?
Yeah.
Bodo said, okay, that's 3 things I lied. Game Free says, join mafiaaddict.com. Okay. Chris says, do you think Dalton survives week 3? I do. Unfortunately. Space Cowboy 17 says, Cincy reminds me of the 2012 Eagles. I'm trying to think of who was on the 2012 Eagles. Was that like the all-star team year? Because the Bengals aren't an all-star team by any means.
That wasn't the all-star team year.
But I will answer Chris' question in more detail. Do you think Dalton survives week 3? I think he survives week 3 because we've seen what happens with Jeremy Hill. Marvin Lewis stays in his ways. When he has a guy he likes, he stays in his ways and he rides it till he dies, basically. Bodo says, where in the world is Andy Dalton? Washed up, question mark. Coach says Bengals are bad. All starts with the coach. Should have gone 3 years ago. Bodo says clean house. Coach says Browns are up swinging. I think is it Zan or Zane says the Bengals have 0 touchdowns in 8 quarters. Not good. Bodo says a good point. When you have 3 or 4 running backs, you have 0.
That's very true. I would agree with that.
Stephen Moore says, will the Cowboys win in the next game? And if they do, what is the spread? Personally, I picked against the Cowboys this week. They're playing the Broncos in Denver, and the Broncos, I think, are plus 2.5. But I've been wrong before when it comes to Cowboys, so don't trust me. Kev, who do you have in that game again?
I have Dallas in that game and a hunch.
Okay. I think it's going to be really close. I think it's going to be 3 points either way. Like, it'll come down to the last score. I just think, that's a difficult matchup in Denver. Take it from a Patriots fan who's always had issues there. Evelyn says, what about the Texans? I wasn't able to watch. The defense pick it up. The defense definitely played better. They took advantage of the Bengals offense that's been awful, but their offense still needs a lot of work, specifically the offensive line. I will say, you got your first win. That's good. Watson got some confidence under his belt. He's only going to get better as the season goes along. The defense played better. The team, gets some sort of positive thing. But next week's going to be an interesting game. Let's talk about next week, Kev. What do you think about the Texans next week going into New England?
Well, as the season began, I had the Patriots at 14-2, and I was going to be 2 losses. It was week 3 to the Texans and later on to the Bucs was my early prediction. I don't know what right now. I don't know. I mean, I think we need to see what we get from the Patriots in New Orleans. They are my survivor pick. I think this should be an easy win for the Patriots. They don't lose 2 in a row. And I think to me, I think the question will be, is what's Watson going to do against Bill Belichick? And that will be a really interesting challenge because they will make it more confusing for him than the Bengals did. But I think a lot of this has to do, we have to wait to see what we see Sunday night from the Patriots.
I would agree with that, but I definitely agree with the part of Belichick's going to make it challenging on Watson. I would expect that there would be a lot of man coverage on the receivers. He's going to force Watson to beat him with his arm down the field, which is his weakness, and he's going to try and make him do that. He's basically going to force him not to run. There'll probably be minimal pressure on Watson, as they'll probably contain him all game, but they'll just force him to throw the ball down the field. And it's going to be interesting to see how he does in that regard. And if they can keep up on the scoreboard, because even though the Patriots didn't play well last week, I think we know that their offense is pretty good. So, anyways, let's get to the Bengals next week, which they play the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. So nothing easier than what the Texans have to face. 2 questions. Will the Bengals fare any better, or will they get blown out? And the second thing is, will they score a touchdown?
The Seahawks didn't score a touchdown. This is one of those I want to see what we get from the Packers defense next week. Again, just to see on Sunday night in Atlanta. I think it's possible the Bengals can score a touchdown. I think it's very possible the Bengals can score 1 touchdown. It's such a tough environment to play in Green Bay. I don't expect them to win that game. I would think that this is one that the Packers should win rather handily, but we got to see Sunday night.
Okay. Yeah, I think they'll score a touchdown just because 2 weeks has already passed. They haven't scored a touchdown. I'm still not a huge believer in Green Bay's defense, so I'll call it right now. They'll score a touchdown, but they'll lose by probably at least 2 scores.
Yeah, I'm thinking 10-15 right now.
But Evelyn says, should Houston pay Dwayne Brown? We'll finish up with this question. Good question. Yes, they need him desperately. They should pay him because they need him. They can't block, especially their tackles. And if they pay him, you're only going to make your rookie quarterback look better, who's going to be your franchise quarterback, and you increase your chances of winning and making the playoffs. So definitely think they should pay him.
Pay the man, as Deion Sanders would say. Pay the man.
All right, so it's been Mitch, it's been Kev for the Houston Texans, Cincinnati Bengals Week 2 Thursday Night Football game. Make sure you tune in tomorrow for all the NFL content, and also this Sunday or this Saturday. First, we'll let Kev plug his own stuff. Sunday, there's going to be Sunday NFL AM in the morning like we had last week. It was a lot of fun, so make sure you tune in there to ask Q&As, fantasy football-related questions, and anything about your favorite team. And then later that day, of course, we'll have Sunday Night Football recap, which is Packers Atlanta. Can't wait for that one. Kev, what do you have on Saturday?
5 coaches who are on the hot seat.
Ooh, all right. All right. So you heard it here first. Mitch, Kev, from the Bottom Line View, peace out.